I bought my first car in Japan a little over 6 months ago, and since then, because it's a Subaru, it's been to the workshop, and of course, the office. Because those repair bills aren't going to pay themselves.
Damn, 400,000 yen?
But as a daily driver, I really have no complaints. My car has been super solid, it gets me to work, it gets me home, it gets me to the gym, and every now and then, of course, the workshop. But there's one thing that I haven't yet done with my car. In the 6 months I've owned her, I've never really taken it anywhere. The furthest trip I've done was probably from Narita to Yokohama, which doesn't sound too bad until I tell you that's where my workshop is. Beyond that, it's mostly been commuting. You know, adult stuff, going to work, getting my paycheck, and using that paycheck to fund more questionable financial decisions on my car. Like this new Nausboss front lip and T37! But this winter, I wanted to take my car somewhere properly far. This car has over 170,000 kilometers on it, and I'm pretty sure that there are still places in Japan that it had never been. So logically, I opened Google Maps, started scrolling until eventually, I ran out of the main island of Japan. Because at the end, I decided to take my car to... I'm currently on my way to Hokkaido. Now, driving from the main island of Japan to Hokkaido isn't as straightforward because there's something called the sea in between the two islands, and I think cars aren't supposed to go on it. That's why I'm on a car ferry. My car is right underneath my feet as we're speaking, and we're traveling from Aomori to Hakodate, which is a chill 4-hour ferry ride. Yesterday, I already drove 9 hours from Tokyo to Aomori, stayed the night, and this morning we catched the 10 a.m. ferry. Now, I think this is too big of an adventure to miss out on, so that's why I have a passenger princess.
Listen baby, 我只想陪你，看见你让我目不转睛 You drive me crazy， 我眼中只看见你牵引，不管让事我都无条件的为你 Let me 完成你的心愿，只想听你说出我愿意 我为你宠，为你疯，为你写浪漫的情节，有你就够，不管是开车或是搭着地铁，梦恋就够，我终于累全身上下。
We just landed in Hokkaido. She's making an Instagram story and then she's becoming like a DJ for like the next half an hour, you know what I mean? We just landed in Hokkaido, and first things first, because we're hungry, we're gonna go and grab some sushi. Guys, this is engawa. I think it's flatfish. Get it seared, because when it's seared and then you put it in your mouth, it just melts complete, like it's butter. This is absolutely fire. 10 out of 10. After eating one of the best sushis we've ever had, I realized that we were still 4 hours away from our Airbnb, which was an absolutely brilliant decision made by someone who clearly didn't have to do the driving. Not that we were in much of a hurry, because part of the reason why I enjoy road trips is being able to stop whenever something looks interesting or take a quick nap in my bucket seat, because napping hits different when you're the one driving. We found a small farm along the way, and before it closed, we grabbed some apple ice cream, said hello to a few cows, thanked them for their service, and continued north. The further we drove, the light began to fade, and the quieter everything became.
조명 하나 없이 익숙해지면 안 되는데 그게 또 익숙해나지만.
We're still about 1.5 hours away from our Airbnb, but I just couldn't resist to stop at service areas like this because the weather looks absolutely amazing. There's no wind right now and the snow is falling like crazy. So a few photos and video break is necessary. Again, the main goal today is to make it to our Airbnb in one piece.
언제쯤일까 다시 그댈 마주한다면 눈을 보고 말할래요 보고 싶었어요 광활했던 기억 속에 나 홀로 춤을 춰도
Okay, too cold. Good morning from Hokkaido. It is negative 10 degrees right now. The wind is blowing and my face is absolutely freezing. But before that, I want to show you guys the Airbnb. We woke up to an amazing view of the sea. My girlfriend is still getting ready, which might take her about 2.5 hours. So in the meantime, I can come out and film a little bit. Oh no, my boy is completely frozen up. I actually can't feel my fingers. It's not even funny anymore, but my boy is completely frozen up. And I'll need to get her cleaned up before we start going again. The next morning, Hokkaido decided to greet us with a little bit more than just snow. There was a full-on blizzard going on. At first, I wasn't too concerned. I mean, I specifically bought winter tires for this trip, and according to Top Gear, Subaru stands for toughest thing on the planet, but my mentality definitely wasn't. Visibility wasn't great, the roads were completely white out, I have a passenger princess, and suddenly I realized that watching winter driving videos on YouTube and actually driving in a snowstorm are two completely different things. Since neither of us had any interest in becoming Hokkaido's traffic report the next day, we decided to take things slow. Everything felt unfamiliar, every lane change felt like a small adventure, and despite the weather doing its absolute best to convince us otherwise, we eventually made it into town to grab some lunch. So yeah, it's just really cold today and very windy as well. I can't feel my fingers every time I film. What? It's heavy. Do it again, do it again, do it again. She said that my trunk is very, very heavy. We didn't really plan too much doing today because of the weather. So we're just gonna go to a farm nearby, have a bit of ice cream at like negative 10, and we'll see where we go from there. Now, if you travel with me someday, you have to know that I'm generally not someone who likes to have a very strict travel plan. I like having a rough direction and maybe a few places marked on the map on the way, and that's about it. Because for me, that's the fun part of traveling. You're not supposed to know what to expect, and sometimes you find places that you never intended to visit. Like this small little cafe on top of a mountain next to a really big lake with some very delicious pudding. And of course, since it was almost sunset, we had to pull over and freeze ourselves a little bit while we enjoyed the last bit of sunlight. We woke up the next day a little bit earlier than usual because I mean, just look at the view outside. And I wanted to fly my drone or else I would have hauled this thing 2,000 kilometers for absolutely nothing!
About the things we love, about the things we love, about the things we love, but you're not asking, making sure I'm fine. If I'm not you, I haven't tried enough. Then you say you never shine so bright, but leave no room.
Somewhere between one shrine and the next, I found myself thinking about the same question that's been following me since the start of the trip. Was this drive actually worth it? Because when I think about it logically, none of this actually makes any sense. I drove almost 3,000 kilometers at that point. I took a ferry to a place where cars can't even go directly, bought winter tires specifically for this trip, spent way more money than I probably should have, all to get to a place where I could have flown to in an hour, and then maybe rent a car there. Even my girlfriend asked me before we left, wouldn't it be easier to just take a plane? And honestly, she's probably right. for the first time. But I think you don't always need to have a logical reason to do everything you do. Because if every decision in life had to make perfect sense, eventually you stop doing anything at all. And just like that, our week in Hokkaido came to an end. The snow was amazing, the roads were beautiful, and the sushi was incredible, but I think what made this trip special was something much simpler. For the first time in my life, I got to take my own car on an adventure. I've been fortunate enough to drive a lot of amazing cars through work. Some of them are faster, some of them are more expensive, and some of them I probably had no business driving in the first place. At the end of the day, I always handed the keys back. This time was a little bit different. This one was mine. Every kilometer, every fuel stop, every photo, every questionable decision, they all belonged to me. And maybe that's why driving all the way to Hokkaido felt worth it. Not because it was in any way the fastest or the cheapest, and certainly not because it was the smartest, but it was my own way. I got to bring my favorite person somewhere she'd never been before, and I got to bring something familiar to a place completely unfamiliar. When everything outside is new, it's nice having something besides you that already feels like home. I don't know if my car cared where we went. I don't think it did, honestly. But I know that years from now, when I look back at these photos and videos, that this will be one of those trips that I'll always remember. On the ferry ride back, I patted the hood of my car and told her that she did a good job. Now, if you don't do that to your car after a long drive, I'm sorry, but we can't be friends. My car is now due for another oil change, and my front lip is no longer with us because of the damn thick-ass snow in Aomori. But this trip was more than we could have ever asked for. A week in Hokkaido, more than 4,000 kilometers, one very happy passenger princess, and one lipless Subaru. Not bad at all for our first adventure together. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next road trip. Love you guys.